Livestock News, brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook, or visit us online at sftmeats.com.
When a cattle producer has a mortality on their farm, it is very important to dispose of the animal properly. With Ag AM in Kansas, I'm Devin Stewart. A veterinarian with the Beef Cattle Institute talked about this in his presentation at a cow-calf seminar hosted by K-State's College of Veterinary Medicine. Dan Fries explains that the proper disposal of a carcass is extremely important for multiple reasons.
If you have a mortality on your farm, whether you're a cow-calf producer or you're a feed yard owner, getting that mortality in that animal disposed of in a proper manner is really important. And from a public health standpoint, we don't want transmission of pathogens between the animals in the herd, and also just to control predators, things like that. We don't want just random animals laying around, or even a location where we have dead animals around. It promotes coyotes and other predators, and getting mortality disposed of is very important.
Now, there are many different types of disposal of dead carcasses. What are the different types?
Well, there are 4 legal ways to dispose of animal mortality. We can call a rendering truck, and they come pick up our animal. A lot of times there's a small fee involved. One of the issues with rendering lately is increased regulation from the FDA regarding specified risk materials for BSE. And so these renderers must remove brain, spinal cord, those kind of things from these carcasses on anything over 30 months of age. And we're limited on, and they're very limited because of the FDA feed bans on where they can market their products. So they've had a significant increase in cost. So some of those services have decreased in availability to some producers in some areas, and rendering mortalities over 30 months of age is becoming more of an issue because some renderers won't pick up those animals anymore. We also have composting is a viable option and a legal option. We have burial is a legal option, and we have incineration as legal options other than rendering.
Now, what is your preferred way of disposing of a carcass?
Well, for a carcass under 30 months of age, rendering is by far the easiest, and me personally, that's what I would prefer to do, is just call the company, pay whatever nominal fee it is, and it's taken care of in a proper manner and fits regulations. And even if they would take a carcass over 30 months of age, but not all renderers will do that. If we get to over 30 month of age carcasses, cows, bulls, things like that, composting is a really nice option. It's a little more, it takes a little more work than something like burial, but it's a little more long term. It's probably a better option. And then incineration is an option. There are some air quality emission regulations that you have to abide by with incineration, and of course there's obviously the cost involved with just the amount of fuel for cattle that it would take to properly and completely cremate, which is incineration. Cremate a 1,400 pound carcass takes a lot of fuel, and at $3.50, $4 diesel fuel, that's going to get really expensive really fast. So it's there, but it's from a practical and cost-effective standpoint, it's probably would be at the bottom of my list.
Livestock News, brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook, or visit us online at sftmeats.com.
Now, rendering is kind of a self-explanatory type of option. Can you kind of explain composition and how a producer would go about doing that?
Sure. It's actually a fairly simple process. And it's a lot easier than a lot of producers might think of it, and the paradigm that's around composting. There's a little bit of work that we need to do. We need a nice base of material about 2 feet deep to start with, and we place our animal on top of that. We Ruminants, we're going to probably want to, if we don't have a necropsy done by your local veterinarian to determine the cause of the mortality, you're probably going to want to take a knife and puncture that rumen, just so we don't have some gas and bloating and have some issues with the pile and that. But we want a material that's going to be fairly absorbent in that base, but still contains just a little bit of moisture. And then we cover the animal with what we call a core, and the core material is going to be something high in organic material, high in nitrogen, and be 40 to 60% moisture. Some things that work nicely, silage can work nicely. Something that works really nicely is if you've got horses and horse stalls, horse manure, horse bedding is a really nice thing to make your core out of. And then we're going to, after we build that core, 18 inches, 2 feet, we're going to want to cover that pile and with what we call a cap. And the cap can be a drier material. It could be manure, especially if you're a feed yard. We have some manure around. We build that cap with manure, and then we just allow the bacteria, in the soil, in the rumen, in the animal, just to do their natural job, degrade all that organic matter, and will eventually degrade those bones as well.
Now, you talked about having a necropsy done. Is this something you see as being mandatory or just kind of an option for a producer?
Well, I would like it to be fairly mandatory. Having your veterinarian involved in your herd health program, diagnosing mortalities, especially unusual mortalities, unexpected mortalities. There's a tremendous amount of management and things that we can do to help producers, if we're involved in their operations, improve their production, improve their herd health, things like that. And so the more we're involved, we can help producers do those kinds of things. So, yes, I would like to see necropsies done on as much as possible, I guess.
Now, are all of these options things that producers can do themselves, or do they need help doing these different disposal?
Well, as far as composting, they can really do that themselves. It's going to be something they're going to have pretty much all the equipment and material. Most ranchers are on their place. The only thing they might need to buy would be a thermometer to help kind of monitor the progress of that compost. We monitor the temperature for sterility, so we know we got it hot enough to sterilize the compost and for proper aerobic digestion. But we can get that for 40, 60, $100 online, different places. We want it to be about 3 feet long, 36 inches long. They have them in various sizes, but 36 inches is a nice 36, 48 is a nice number. If they have questions starting it, they can contact the KDHE, Kansas Department of Health and Environment. They can contact us at the BCI, the Beef Cattle Institute at K-State. We'd be happy to help them, get them in contact with experts in the area or someone in their general area or their local veterinarian.
With Ag AM in Kansas, I'm Devin Stewart.